I'm Lee, and this week I need to make the other piece. And that other piece is actually a string line. There's a lot of guesses on what this was, plumb bob, but this is just a stake, and the string will go through here to be the far end of my string line. So here was last week's project. This is that stake. So I have a hole right here. The string will sit through that groove right there. Now I have some 3/4 inch material. I'm going to forge another one of these tapers out, fuller up here, and then I'm going to fuller again to make the neck that actually holds the string line. So I'm going to get some steel heated up and get that done. For the most part, this is forged. Now I'm getting a little bit of a cold shut in here, so I'm going to file that before I refine that taper and finish rounding out this bar to blend this in. This is still a little bit heavy back here, so I'll blend it back into the top. So I'm going to file that before I go any further, but it's still hot. So I'm going to move on for the second, and I have these set up, which will be the top and bottom of the little string line where it actually holds the string. So I'm going to fuller, there'll be a hole, and a hole on both of these. So first I'm going to start with the fullers, make sure those come out right. And then I will move on to punching the holes. After just a few minutes, I have this forged down smaller. I left this mass up here because this is way too long at this point. And before I go ahead and cut this, I want to make sure that the top of this string line fits up here first. So I'm going to focus on this, but this gives me a good size to punch the center holes. Now I need to punch holes. I already did one because I was talking to myself because the camera was off. But I'm going to start here. Looking good. So I need to size this one to 5/16 for a rivet. This one needs to go to 3/8 for the center shaft. Okay, I gotta stretch that little mass right there. Okay, I want to do a little bit of a bevel, so I'm just gonna work with the flat die. Bring that up to the center. Try something a little bit fancy. Maybe one right up the center. Might do two more, one right there and one right there. Do two more with the curved fuller. Now, if you're wondering what that is, I'm also wondering, but I think that it will add to it. Okay, I've got two smaller pieces, about 4.5 inches. I need to knock the corners back. Alright, because this looks like a gigantic band-aid, I'm going to skinny up the waist just a little bit, guess the middle. More hole punching, and I'm just going to guess this one. It's looking pretty good. So far, this is what I have. This is going to be the top. These are the upward brackets for the string line. And this is the bottom. And then obviously this is the shaft that they're going to sit on. Now I need to bend these. So I need to shorten this up here. I need to bend them over real quick and then give them a little bit of an arc. I'll probably have to clean everything out with a drill bit. but I want to start assembling to see what it's going to look like. That was failure one, and it's because my shoulders of my rivets that I made are too angled out. So my rivet's sitting too far down, and I did not make a monkey tool before I started this. So back to the drawing board, I need a rivet with a flatter head like a bolt. So I'm going to make a bolster plate out of a thick piece of steel I have and remake all 4 rivets flatter. Try this again, probably without the dies, because whenever I do that, I'm probably going to drive them down tight. So there'll be a flatter rivet, and I'll probably just bevel the edge with a hammer, and then I can go ahead and do this again. Now the reason that I don't want to heat this whole corner up in the forge is because if I do that, the steel's so thin that by the time I start hammering on this, this thing's going to start wandering, and this thing's going to be racked so bad that it's going to be hard to put back together. So I'm just going to try the rivets one more time, see what I can accomplish. That was not good. Okay, now I want to fold these around. Something like that, but a little bit straighter. Need to get a better grip on these. I have to do it in a vise real quick. Okay, now on to this part. I want to have this kind of a long curve out. Bring this back just a fuzz. That looks pretty good. I like it. I need straightened up just a little bit. Does not look too bad. Okay, now for the handle part of this, I need to start by flattening off a little bit that I'm going to open up. I am close to final assembly. I have this piece that I made. It slips right onto this shaft. I already trimmed that shaft off for the most part. It needs cleaned up just a little bit. Now I need to attach this ring to the top, and I want to connect it on the diagonal the same as this one right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it off up here somewhere where I see fit, and then I'm going to drill it from the bottom so it fits over this shaft, and then I'm going to take a tiny piece of brass I have, I'm going to drill through this shaft and this, and I'll rivet it on with that little piece of brass. I have my brass rivet put in here at the top. This thing spins nice and free for my reel or all my string to sit on. And then I can reel it in with this little knob right here that I got. These are aesthetic, but they also serve a purpose, which I'll show once I get the string put on. Now this is put on the diagonal the same as this one. So it looks the same. Now the reason I left that long was so whenever I store this, this can go right here. This is my stake for the end of the string line, and obviously this is the reel. I'm really happy with it. Now my rivets, I tried using the dome rivets and that was not working. So I ended up making my own rivets just with a hammer and a bolster plate, and they worked really well. Everything locked together perfect. It looks good. They sit nice and tight. I like what I did with the fullering. I think that that turned out nice. It gives it a little something different to look at. And they cover up the rivets. I hope you enjoyed this week's video. Let me know what you think in the comments. I appreciate you watching. I'll see you next week. Okay, I want to do just a little bit of a bevel, and I have the camera on the wrong side.